tonight. Okay, so I'll just present to Shona, and I will stop presenting our holding slide, and Shona can tell you all about anxiety.
Okay, thanks, Karen. So hi, everybody. As Karen said, I'm one of the counsellors in school, and there's two of us actually, and we share a full-time week. And a lot of the young people that come to see us are talking about anxiety. So if I just take you through some of the things that anxiety actually is. So if you think about stress and a small amount of anxiety, we all experience it, and it can be a motivator, it can be quite a positive thing. But when anxiety starts to get in the way of everyday living, then it can become a problem. It's about high levels of worry and stress and things that interfere with daily living. And a lot of young people are experiencing anxiety at the moment. It's usually not attention seeking. So there is a wee bit of research that's been done with young people and anxiety. And what it says is attention seeking is better described as attention needing. So there's usually something behind it. Even if you do feel that somebody's attention seeking, it's usually not useful to be saying that and about thinking about, well, why would somebody be seeking attention? Is there something that they're actually needing? And it can be escalated by social media, as you'll know, the kind of things that are put onto social media, the messages that people get, and quite often people say, you could be at your worst viewing somebody at their best. So you'll know that when you think about Facebook or Snapchat or Instagram or whatever, and people tend to put their best up there, and it can make young people feel worse when they're feeling as if their life isn't measuring up to a lot of what they're seeing on social media. And it can be escalated by everyday changes, things about the young person's life or in school as well. So coming up is the pupils are all switching next week into the next year, as you'll know. So that can cause a level of anxiety because they're not very sure what it's going to feel like or how it's going to be. It can affect both genders, but it's particularly prevalent for girls, I think. The things that they can be influenced by, the worries that they can have, it can be particularly, bad for them. Boys can struggle as well, I think, and find it hard to talk about, maybe because it's seen as being more prevalent among girls, that boys can struggle to actually speak up about what's going on. And it can have physical effects as well. It can really affect young people physically, and it can cause panic attacks. And the triggers for anxiety, young people have said things like crowded places, COVID-19, obviously. Some of them have said like the fear of catching it and passing it on to an elderly relative or a vulnerable relative. They spoke about lockdown being a difficulty because they weren't able to connect with their friends. So they'll say it's not the same talking on video chat or, on the phone or whatever, texting. It's not the same as actually being able to be in contact with your friends. So that can be a trigger for them. Sometimes they'll say school in general, just the thought of going to school, not knowing how things are going to be, how they're going to feel. Break times and lunch times can be hot spots as well because there's so many people about, and for some young people experiencing anxiety, that crowded environment, or it's not so bad at the moment obviously because they're all social distancing, but even just the amount of people that are around can be a trigger for their anxiety. And peer group issues, falling out with their friends or peer group dynamics, things like that can escalate it. Being left standing on your own, or the fear of ending up with no friends and being left standing on your own and people looking at you, those kinds of things can be triggers for anxiety. And social events as well is something young people have said, being invited to a party, being invited to a day out, and just getting really uptight and anxious thinking about how that's going to be for them. So how can anxiety affect a young person? Well, it's made up of a few components, anxiety, and young people don't always really understand that or don't necessarily understand it. So it can be kicked off by thoughts that they're having. So they're not even really aware, but very negative thoughts maybe. So thoughts, and then that can lead to physical sensations in their body, to negative emotions, and to different kinds of behaviours. So in terms of the thoughts that young people can have, so if you think about catastrophic thinking, I don't know, you might have heard young people that you've got living around you talking about these what ifs, you know, and it could be something that you would maybe think would be relatively minor, but what if I'm in school and I trip and fall and everybody looks at me, or what if the worst happens, you know, real catastrophic things that might happen. And just negative, like black and white thinking as well. So it's either or, so that there's extremes of I'm either going to pass or I'm going to fail. There's nowhere in between. My friends are either like me or they hate me. There's no kind of grey area in between, and that can be really difficult. And inner critics as well. So, you know, young people telling themselves very negative things that can escalate their anxiety. And then these are, like I said, physical sensations can actually, you know, kick off as a result of these thoughts. So having a tight chest, a swirling in their stomach, feeling sick, a racing heart, fast breathing, and then maybe panic attacks. So all of these are actually physical symptoms that are happening, but can be brought on as a result of negative catastrophic thinking or black and white thinking. And then there are feelings there as well. So there's fear, maybe dread, shame, embarrassment, these kinds of things that they're feeling at the same time. And then these lead to affect their behaviours. So they might avoid the situation, they might pretend that they're ill so that they don't have to go to school. They might freeze in a situation. They might feel like they're going to cry and really panic because people might notice. So these four components are all going on when a young person is experiencing anxiety. So it's really important that the young person understands that, and that you do as well if you're supporting them with their anxious feelings, that you know, I feel anxious is a statement, but you know, this is all, it's thoughts, it's feelings, it's feeling sick, it's all of these things, and then it's these behaviours that you know are kind of as a result of all of this, and all of this can be completely debilitating for a young person. So what support can you offer as a parent or a carer of a young person that's experiencing anxiety? I think the very first thing is believe it. So, you know, like I said about not saying it's attention seeking, or not saying, oh, come on, pull yourself together, get your act together. Things like that maybe isn't going to be helpful. It is about saying, I believe you, and tell them that you understand and that you know that that's what's going on for them. Give them some space and privacy if you can. If their own room isn't possible, then a space in the house or a time in the house where they just get that space to themselves, that privacy to do whatever it is that they want to be doing. If they share a room with a younger sibling, maybe working out how they can get some time on their own in that, and explaining to the younger one or whatever that, you know, this is their time. And sit down with them and help them to build a list of things that help them to feel calmer. So for every child or young person, that's different. So there'll be, you know, obvious things like going for walks, maybe having a bath or a shower, maybe going to bed for a nap, doing some breathing exercises like we'll be talking about later, you know, just now. So different things, you know, whatever they come up with themselves. It could be listening to music. Sometimes it is playing video games, and that can help them to feel calmer. Talking to friends on the internet. You know, sit down with them and come up with a list of things that you can then remind them of if they are feeling very anxious. And it is really important to listen. It can be so helpful for young people to be heard without judgment and without maybe leaping in to explain what it's about or to fix it. Just sometimes just listening to them talking about what they're experiencing, and even if it feels trivial to you, and you can't really think, how could they be so upset about this thing that feels so small to them? It's enormous, and it's just really important to be listening to that. And try and spend some time together if you can, doing fun things or doing relaxing things. So going out for a walk or just chilling out, watching TV, or just being there and being around so they maybe don't feel so alone when they are experiencing anxiety. And there are 3 important components that help you to look after your mental health. And this applies to young people and adults alike. And they are getting exercise and fresh air. So changing the air that you breathe in. So if, you know, we've been in lockdown, we're in the house a lot, just getting outside. So I don't mean when I say exercise, doing star jumps or whatever, or, you know, it really just maybe going out and going for a walk, just breathing some different air. So that's the first component. The second one is having a balanced diet. So it's not about, you know, it's not about being on a diet. It's nothing like that. It's really just about making sure you've got a balance, because when you're anxious, it's the kind of prehistoric brain that wants to protect your organs from the threat of enemies or whatever, makes you crave carbs as well, which is why when you're stressed or anxious, you might want to eat crisps and cakes and things like that. So it's really important to pay attention to your diet, because that can really impact on how you're feeling. And getting proper relaxation, so maybe not just sitting on a computer or whatever, maybe just lying down somewhere or sitting and doing some breathing exercises to make you feel that it's your body's really relaxing. And I think the big important thing is as well, get some support for yourself if you're feeling overwhelmed. So pupil support in school you can talk to, for example. If you as a parent or a carer is thinking, I don't know how to deal with this, you know, I feel really overwhelmed, speak to someone about that, and encourage young people to feel positive about themselves as well, because the inner critic there just works away at them and can really impact on how they're feeling. So it's about helping them to feel positive, tell them you're proud of them, tell them they look great, give them some compliments, celebrate achievements, things like that can just help them to feel better. So there's some strategies for managing anxiety, and you can help the young person that's in your life to implement some of these strategies if they are feeling really panicky. If someone's having a panic attack, the first important thing to do is to name it and say, this is a panic attack, you're feeling overwhelmed, because some people think, I'm having a heart attack, I'm dying, something really terrible's happening to me, because it does feel so strange and so scary. So just even naming it as a panic attack can be really important. The other thing is about grounding. Say to the young person, put your feet on the floor, put both of your feet on the floor. Some people describe feeling as if they're going to float away, as if they're floating out of their body. They don't feel quite part of themselves. So putting the feet on the ground and imagine roots spreading down their legs and out onto the floor like a tree. There's roots there and it's rooting them to the floor. So that's the first stage. And then breathing. The exercise that I use is called 5-3-5, but you can adjust the numbers depending on what feels comfortable for you or for them. Breathing, when we're feeling anxious, breathing can become shallow. So maybe their heart's racing, they're shallow breathing, they're almost panting, and that deprives your brain of oxygen, which increases panic. So the first thing to do when somebody's feeling really anxious or overwhelmed is to get them to breathe deeply. And if you can get them into this routine with 5-3-5, what you do is breathe in through your nose to a count of 5. Hold on to the breath for a count of 3, and then breathe out through your mouth to a count of 5. And while they're breathing out, say, drop your shoulders, because sometimes you'll feel as if your shoulders have been up around your ears because you're feeling so tense and you don't even realize it. So drop the shoulders. And if they're breathing and they're counting as well, not only is your body and your brain actually getting more oxygen, so you're beginning to feel calmer, but the counting is a distraction and it helps to distract them from the panic. So if they're sitting grounded and they're doing their breathing, and this is, you know, young people can be impatient, so you could take them through that and they go, oh, it's not working, I don't want to do it. But it's practice, so they need to keep practicing doing this breathing until it becomes something that's quite easy for them. So another strategy, and it's again about distracting, is about thinking about the 5 senses. So I get them to count off on their fingers what they can hear, what they can see, what they can smell, what they can taste, and what they can feel. So it can be quite useful, maybe if you do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, so 5 things you can hear. So say to them, what can you hear round about you? What kind of noises, what sounds can you hear? 4 things that you can see, and get them to say it out loud and they can point it out. 3 things that they can smell, and it might be somebody's perfume, it might be grass outside, it's a variety of things, or it might be a wee aromatherapy oil, a lavender, or these Yankee candle votives are really good as well, because there's a range of smells. So you might find one that the young person likes the smell of, and they can carry it about in their pocket, maybe pull it out and smell it when they're feeling particularly overwhelmed. A taste, so they might want to carry mints about with them, or these kind of sour sweets, so something that's got a really strong taste, which is about bringing them back into the room again, bringing them back into here and now. And then something they can feel, so it might be their clothes on their body, it might be a fidgeter, or a little piece of, you know, nice material or something. They can feel their bum sitting on a seat, whatever it is that they can feel, so something that they can feel. So that's taking them through those 5 senses and giving them something to help them to just feel distracted and to start to calm down from feeling overwhelmed. And then mindfulness is something that a lot of people are talking about just now, and it is basically just about focusing on the here and now. So anxiety can make you look back the way, so they're looking back and thinking about conversations that they've had. Oh, I shouldn't have said that, and why did I say this, and what will folk be thinking about me, and overthinking things that have already happened, or looking into the future and worrying about what might happen tomorrow, next week, thinking about catastrophic things that might happen. So it's about encouraging them to be aware of their surroundings in the here and now. So that exercise I've talked about the senses, or when you're out for a walk, pointing things out, look at this, smell that, you know, look at these flowers, or look up and look at the sky, just encouraging them to just think about the here and now. So those are a few strategies that might be helpful for you. And I might ask Mrs. Quinn maybe if she can post this publicly, so that you'll have some of these things written down just as a reminder about the stuff that I've been talking about tonight. So young people are doing things that are helping them to manage how they're feeling. Sometimes these are positive things, sometimes it is about, you know, being able to listen to music, have a bath, go for a walk, lots of different things that they can do. Sometimes these coping mechanisms aren't so positive. So there are things like, you know, OCD behaviours where, you know, a young person might not feel in control of the feelings that they're having and how anxious they're feeling. So OCD is a way for them to control something. So they might become obsessive about their own environment. It's a product of anxiety and about wanting to control things. Sorry, it could be that they turn to drinking or drugs because what they're wanting to do is feel different. So they want the anxiety to feel different and might come across alcohol or drugs that make them feel different just for a wee while. So that can be difficult to cope with, and these are the things I'm saying, you know, if you feel overwhelmed, get some support with this. Self-harming is another way young people will talk about, you know, if they feel completely emotionally overwhelmed, if they harm themselves in some way, it takes the focus away from how overwhelmed they are to the pain that they're feeling or to the sight of blood. So that can be really alarming and really distressing for parents as well. It's a reality of some kind of negative coping mechanisms for managing anxiety, and also controlled eating can be another one. These aren't, it's not restricted just to these, but these are some of the negative coping mechanisms that I've come across when I've been working with young people talking about how they manage anxiety. So in terms of things that are online, there are a couple of apps that young people have recommended, actually, and for the younger pupils, the younger kids, there's one called Chill Panda, which has come highly recommended, and it has, I think it's free as far as I'm aware. There's Chill Panda and there's Dreamy Kid. And these are both apps for younger people, but some young folk are talking about, you know, maybe being on the bus on the way home from school, or just sitting in the house and feeling quite overwhelmed, and get on these and it guides them through things, games that can take their mind off how they're feeling, or breathing exercises and that kind of thing. For the older ones, the more seniors in school, there's two, one called Headspace and one called Calm. And these, again, they've got breathing exercise in them. There's very visual things where they can see the visual kind of circles going in and out, so it helps them, it guides them into being able to breathe when they're feeling stressed. So both of those have got free options, but obviously they try and get you to pay for kind of more detailed things in them. And then a couple of websites. I didn't want to overwhelm you with those because, you know, you can go on and Google things and find out more about anxiety, but youngminds.org.uk is a good one that has got an element for parents as well, and it talks about lots of different things that can cause anxiety for young people. And then young.scot, you'll probably know about that one as well. That's specifically for young people to access, and if there's anything that's worrying them, they can search for it and read up about it, and it's, you know, it's very young people focused. And then finally, I just wanted to talk about what support there is in school. So the counselling service, it's myself, Shona, and another woman called Caroline, and we're in 5 days. I'm in on a Monday and a Tuesday, Caroline's in Wednesday, Thursday and a Friday morning. And we can talk to parents as well. If there's something that you're worried about, we can make an appointment, have a chat, maybe over the phone or face-to-face if you would like to do that. So we've got a counselling service where we'd offer appointments in a therapeutic space for a child or a young person to come and sit in a safe space confidentially. We'd obviously say to them if there was any immediate risk to them that we would have to break confidence, but in the main, confidentially, they can talk to us. And if they just wanted a chat and they're not sure whether they want to get engaged in counselling, we've got a time to talk service as well, where they can just come and have a chat, talk things over, and sometimes a one-off is all they need, or they can arrange another appointment. And there's a listen service in school as well. It's been there for quite a long time. I think there's 3 women that offer that. So again, that's, you know, you can see someone regularly and talk over things with someone who's an experienced support worker and listener. And as parents or as pupils, you can speak to the pupil support teachers. So the year head of pupil support, if you're worried about something to do with the young person that's living in your house, speak to the pupil support teacher, and the pupils can do that process as well. And if they want referred into the counselling service, they can do that route. And time to talk, we've actually got posters in school that have got QR codes on them, so if they don't want to go through a referral through school, they can just use the QR code and refer themselves to us. There's teachers trained in mental health first aid as well. They've all got their names on their doors in school, so the pupils know who they are and they can seek them out and they can have a chat with them as well. And then there's seniors trained up as mental health advocates, so they can be like a peer support to children in school. If somebody's feeling quite overwhelmed and they want a chat with one of the seniors, then they can do that. So that's me. I don't know if there's any questions from anybody. If you have anything you want to say or you want to ask me before we finish, I hope you found that helpful.
Thank you very much, Shona. That was great. So if anyone does have any questions, if you pop them in the chat box, and then we'll try and answer them for you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Shona. I was going to just mention very quickly to any parents who are here that the Stirling Council Service has been great. You're offering support over the summer as well, aren't you? So
Yeah.
although the schools are closed, if a young person has been seeing the counsellor or we wanted to put a referral in, that support remains available over the summer. But again, you would just go through the pupil support team in school and we would see what we could do. But that's definitely an option for everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. Oh, don't think there's any questions, but lots of very informative. That's great. Thank you very much. So if you do have any questions, pop them in the chat box. But thank you very much. I think, Shona, you did a really good job covering everything there. So nobody's got any questions for you. But if anybody does have any questions, pop them in the chat box and we'll get back to you. And I hope that you got some support out of that. I know that I certainly did, and I'll certainly be looking out for certain things with my pupils. So thank you very much, Shona.
Okay.
And thank you everyone for coming along. The evening has been recorded, so we will put that up on the website. So if you need to go back and look at it again, you can. Or if you want to any of those web addresses or the information, I'll certainly put that out to you as well. So thank you very much. And have a great evening. Thank you.
There seemed there was quite a lot of people there, wasn't there? I'm seeing them all leaving. Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, I think it was 20, 21 in total, but including us. That's
Was Quinn, do you want to stop recording? Maybe just so you don't need to cut it then.
Forgot about that.